everybody. Thanks for joining us for a look at our weekend weather for January 9th and January 10th. Weather pattern continues to be quite quiet as the main storm track is well to our south and east at this point, which is keeping us in quiet weather. Temperatures, though, are not real cold. We're going to talk a little bit about why, even though the storm track is to our south and east, which would normally put us in the middle of January, that would normally put us in very cold temperatures, why we're not actually having very cold temperatures. We're kind of seasonable to slightly above average, and why the weather pattern is definitely strange at the moment, kind of a global pattern. So yeah, we're going to take a quick look at that. Let's start off by looking at satellite imagery, and you can see, like I said, the storm track is definitely to our south. We don't really have any strong storms at the moment anyway. This storm has some strength, but you can see it's well to our south, and it is moving, if anything, it's moving kind of east, and then it's going to head out to sea. We've got a little bit of a weak, very weak system here over the four corners. And then we do have another system that's approaching the Pacific Northwest on a series of those storms has come across. You would say normally if we see something like this, if we see a storm headed out to sea south of us, a coastal storm headed out to sea south of us, it's dragging in and tapping really cold air in Canada, and we're seeing lots of very, far below zero temperatures at night. Now, we've been kind of seasonably cold, mid-teens for temperatures at night. That's not really cold for January. Matter of fact, that's about average. And highs around 30 or even in the low 30s most of the last few days, and that'll continue over the weekend. That's also slightly above normal for this time of year. So how come? Given that the pattern would sort of indicate that we'd be cold, why aren't we cold? Well, there's a really easy explanation for this. If we look at not that one though. Let's look at temperatures in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, and you can see there is a giant bubble. This map doesn't really do justice to how big this bubble is, but a giant bubble of warmer than average air over Canada currently. This is sort of like the opposite of the polar vortex currently. Instead of having a pocket of very cold air in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, we have a pocket of very warm air. So yes, we're tapping into Canadian air, and yes, it's sort of cold because it's January, but it's not that cold, so there's really no cold air to tap right now anywhere in the Western Hemisphere, basically. And eventually that will probably change throughout the winter, although this is not unusual for a La Nina winter. If you watched any of my discussion, or if you heard any of my discussion, when people asked me early in the winter what's likely to happen winter-wise when we have a relatively strong La Nina going on, well, generally it tends to mean we don't tap real cold air in the Western Hemisphere, and particularly in the Northeast. And that happens because Canada tends to be relatively warm, and if Canada's warm, there's nowhere for us to get really cold air. And so this is probably likely to be kind of our winter pattern. It doesn't mean we could end up without snow, because we're cold enough for snow, but it does mean that we're unlikely to see 20 below zero very often here. Nobody's complaining about that. Yeah, just to give you a quick look at Canadian temperatures. Again, you can see we got lots of single numbers, got a few just barely below zero. Matter of fact, way up in northern Quebec, 9 below zero. Again, that's cold for us, but for northern Quebec in mid-January, that's downright balmy. It's not cold at all in Canada at the moment. So that's why we're seeing the weather that we are. In terms of what the forecast actually going to look like, sorry, let me pop that up for you. Basically, Saturday and Sunday are both the same. Mix of sun and clouds. We will have a few high clouds around. As we do get, there's this giant upper level low system, or big giant low pressure system, way east of us now, but it continues to spin back some pinwheels of clouds. So we'll see kind of filtered sunshine, I would say. But mornings in low teens, in the upper teens both days. Highs are near 30, maybe low 30s on Sunday. Basically both days, no real wind, very pleasant ski days. So that's your weather for the weekend, and we'll be back with next week's work week forecast. Right now, next week looks relatively quiet as well, although the pattern does start to shift up a little bit maybe by the end of the week as we start to see, maybe we'll get into some bouts of a little more interesting weather. Until then, I hope you're having a good day, and I want to say a quick thank you to my patrons who help support what I do here. And if you are interested in the weather and you like to see what I'm talking about and not miss one of my videos, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Otherwise, I'll be back on Monday with my work week forecast.